paranormal. It surrounds us. It's everywhere. Tonight, you will hear from the people who live and work within these highly active locations, all in the efforts to discover America's most haunted. With your host, ghost hunter and author, Dan Terry.
Good evening, boys and ghouls. I am Dan Terry, your ghost host with the most haunted. Happy Halloween. We're getting there. October is just right here. You know what I mean? It's the ghost season, and I'm coming here from the UNX Network, which should be your Halloween happy place. This says it all. You need to be checking us out, especially Most Haunted, because this month we're going to have some really cool stuff coming up. But what I've got now to start the Halloween season, right, is Denise Pridemore, who is a Maryland native, but a transplant to Kansas. And you know how I'm with Kansas. It's my old stomping ground. But aside from being a paranormal investigator for years, she was a guide at the infamous Sallie House. Now, you guys all know the Sallie House, or you wouldn't be here. One of the most famous places in Atchison, Kansas. It's been on multiple television shows, sometimes some two-parters. Just a lot of stories. And because she's been there, she's going to tell you some of the more honest facts about it. So let's bring Denise Pridemore on right now and start talking.
Hi, everyone. Hope everybody's having a great night.
Glad
to see you again.
I'm sorry we have to bring you out of your sickbed for this, just coming off COVID like that.
Well, it is what it is. No matter what we do, real life has to get in the middle of everything.
I've noticed that. That's kind of rough.
Yeah, it's a little bit annoying.
How'd you end up in Kansas from Maryland?
I'm going to make this really fun. I got married at 15 and moved to Blytheville, Arkansas with my first husband. So there's the first thing that you know about me now. I got divorced right after I turned 18 years old. And during that time, I met my husband, Ron. He saved me from a really horrible situation, never meaning to actually get involved with me personally. He wanted a girlfriend until he got out of the service, and then so long, senorita, see you later. And he ended up asking me to marry him before he got out of the military in '84. And I went back to Baltimore, and he went back to St. Louis. And 2 weeks later, he shows up in Baltimore. One of the most beautiful Februaries we ever had, lovely and 70, and said, I really do want to marry you. And he came back in May, and we got married, and we've been married ever since. So we've been married 38 years, almost 38 and a half now. And for some reason, it was meant to be, for us. Apparently I was meant to meet that first husband and meant to meet Ron, and 4 kids and 5 grandchildren later, here we are, and we're together 90% of our time.
I'm going to have to chat with him about where he was at in St. Louis. That's my home, basically, just a few miles from there.
Florissant.
Yes, of course. I know that area well.
Yeah, it's not the same as it was back then. But, he still has family in St. Louis, so we're there a lot. And, you mentioned the Sallie House. I'm also a volunteer at the McPike Mansion in Alton, Illinois. Both of us are.
Right.
And we've been volunteers there since 2009. So our affiliation with St. Louis continues forever.
Those who don't know, the McPike Mansion is actually in Alton, right across the river, but it is allegedly, and I've been on the grounds, I've never been in it because it was still condemned at that time, one of the most haunted mansions in the country, far more so than the Lemp.
Yes. I've never had an experience in the Lemp. One of the cleanest hotels you ever want to stay in, I have to say. You don't even get orbs in your pictures. But yeah, the Lemp is great. McPike, if you get to go, enjoy. It is still technically condemned, but it's in a lot better shape than it was. And if you go through old pictures online, you'll see how it's changed now. And join the McPike group on Facebook so you can see all the updates that Eric Vale and his daughter are doing to the mansion, helping out Sharon and George Ludke.
Well, just to we'll divide off here just a little bit from Sallie House, because the McPike Mansion once had 2 radio DJs doing a Halloween show there who got so scared they ran out and got stuck in the door like a comedy duo from the 50s.
Yeah, I remember listening to that.
Yeah. So the place is real, folks. I've seen some pictures from there. I've seen video from there, and it's amazing.
Well, when it was on Fact or Faked, they couldn't fake it. They couldn't. There was no way they could fake the mist in the basement that Renee got all those years ago. And my husband has been in that mist in the past.
Wow!
And so it is an amazing place. They do dark cellar sessions and tours April through November. As long as the weather's good, they do it. And right now they're doing them every week and 2 a night on Saturdays. So every Friday, Saturday you can go. And then on Saturday nights, most of the time they have 2 tours. And if you get into some of the good Halloween tours with some of the surrounding areas, they also get you in there as part of their bus tour.
Well, if you have like a flyer or something I can throw on my websites, please send it to me, because I know that's a place I know is absolutely haunted.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the Sallie House, because the legends around that were incredible. The multiple TV shows there were amazing, but you've got a slightly different look on it.
Yeah. I started volunteering. Well, I was like everybody else. I was curious. And I went, back in 94, I was watching it on TV. Lived in Kansas City, Missouri, didn't have the internet, so I couldn't go look it up. Saw it on a haunting, and I was amazed to see that somebody was claiming that a spirit had scratched them. And I had been touched by spirits before, things like that. I knew that they could touch you. I knew that there was a possibility of hurting you. Things like that. I knew that my entire life. I've been seeing spirits since I was 4 years old. And so it didn't surprise me, but it surprised me that somebody came out and said it was happening. Okay. So here I'm seeing Tony Pickman on TV talking about this, and Deb talking about how she wanted to have a paranormal experience and all that. And, I'm having them every day. It's not a big deal, but I was just amazed at this story. And I actually became obsessed. Every time that haunting came on, I had to watch it. I had it taped on, my VCR, and I would watch this in the middle of the night, because I was nursing a baby, and you had to watch something quiet, and a haunting is usually, you can keep it quiet.
Yeah.
And then I saw sightings, and here's the Pickmans again, and I'm keep on watching all these things. And so later on, as our kids get older, I tell my husband, I said, I'm going to go here. Well, back in 2008, 2009, I said, let's go. Let's go. They have a haunted trolley tour. We can take it during the day. We can take our kids. It's not a big deal. You're not going in any place haunted, even though we lived in a haunted house. You didn't want people to judge you for being a parent and taking your kid to a haunted place. And I was very aware of my surroundings. So I said, and at this time, my husband still doesn't know I see spirits. Okay. He doesn't.
Really?
No, he did not know until a little bit later that I could see spirits. So we go on the tour. I have my book that my kids had gotten me for Christmas, the Sallie House story from Deb and Tony Pickman, A True Haunting. I have my Haunted Atchison book that I know now was written by the Chamber of Commerce. But I did not know that then. And I had my tape recorder, I had a notebook, I had my book, and I'm writing down all this information that I'm getting about the town of Atchison. Okay? Because at that time, I knew everything there was to know about Alton. I could tell you every place that was haunted in Alton, but I had to go 3.5 hours. So part of it was, hey, I want to find some place haunted closer to me that has an amazing history so I can learn it.
Right.
And that's so, so we're on this tour and we're driving down the street and we're hearing about the Gargoyle Mansion and the Eva C. Cray and the Munchnick. And we turn down the road and we're coming down the street and I see this huge house on the right side of the street, the Glick Mansion. It's beautiful. I love it. I tell my husband, I said, oh, it's a bed and breakfast. I'd like to stay there. And I look across the street directly and there's the Sallie House. And I'm like, that's not what it looked like on TV. That was the first thing I noticed, is that they had driven by a house like that on a haunting, but they never said it was the Sallie House. Mm-hmm. And so I'm all amazed and I'm listening to the story that's being told on the iPod, and I'm not kicking this iPod thing, people. So if you're listening, I think that's a good way to go to keep your tours consistent. So nobody gets a different story than somebody else gives. Mm-hmm. So, we get all the way through and we get back to the chamber. And I tell my husband, I said, they've got tours in September. We need to come in September to get in the house. Since we couldn't go in it, we were only on the trolley. And so we came back. That was in July. We went back in September. The first weekend they were open. Paid our $10. We spent all afternoon there from 1 until 5. Mm-hmm. And first thing I said was, first off, this house stinks. It smelled like mold and mildew. You could smell it in the air. Mm-hmm. And the second thing is the inside isn't even like it was on a haunting, but it was like it was on sightings.
Okay.
Except for different furniture, which is expected because, it's not the same people living there. Mm-hmm. Of course, at this point, nobody's living there. And so, we go through and I'm angry at the fact that they have the dining room roped off and they're stating that a doctor did surgery on, in this dining room mm-hmm. on a child who apparently they said had an appendicitis. Okay. And I'm like, well, that's not right, because on a haunting, they said that she was the love child of a doctor and his housekeeper. And she was a mulatto child, and she died from pneumonia upstairs. Okay, so here we got two different stories, and I'm okay. Background on me, I'm a data analyst. Okay, everything I do is fact-based. Yes, I know I see spirits. So I am a Gemini, so I spend all my time going between this, shaking my head, going, I'm at odds with myself all the time on this stuff. So I know how it sounds. So I'm upset about this. And there's little signs all over the house. The tour guides are just sitting on the sofa, standing in the kitchen, standing at the top of the stairs. They're not interacting with the guests at all. Mm-hmm. They're just, no, you can't go down the stairs. You can't go down the stairs. Oh, and you can't go through that door. Things like that. So they have the stairs roped off to the basement and a sign that says, a lady fell to her death down these stairs. And it's like, okay, so I've got pictures of all these signs, so because I'm going to go research all this and find out what's going on, because that one there was like, you can prove that. You can prove if somebody died in a house mm-hmm. By falling down the stairs, because there will be a report in the paper if it was prior to like the 1960s. Prior to the 1960s, Atchison was a gossipy town. Everything was in the newspaper. And so I was like, okay, I can do this. So then we go upstairs and there's a sign up there that says, this paranormal team discovered that there was this many spirits in the house, and one was this one and one was this one. And it's like, okay, well, where'd they come from? Why are they here?
Yeah.
Things like that. That they had the nursery blocked off, so you couldn't go in there. They had the toys all set up in a circle like they had on a haunting, which I expected. And they wouldn't let you go in the room because they felt like you might be disturbing the spirits at that time. And, I had no clue. And then we go in the closet in the master bedroom, and there's a sign in there that says that a psychic said that a boy had been chained in that closet. And I'm like, huh? No, why?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a window in this closet. If a kid has been chained in there, first of all, it's a thin window. You'd hear him yelling. And second of all, people could see in the window. Yeah. And I'm so needless to say, I'm upset with all of these signs saying all the stuff that first off could be proven. The stuff that they're saying that the paranormal team got and all this other stuff could not be proven. They made a movie in the town for the beginning of Robbie Thomas's movie, where it makes the doctor look like he was a drunk and inept. And so, like I said, I'm putting all these pieces together and going, not one of these pieces fit together right. What in the world is going on here? So we go back the following week, and me with my book and some more information, some stuff I had researched, and started asking some questions with the dowsing rods. And I started getting weird answers. Started getting all kinds of stuff that I didn't expect. And at that point, I became obsessed. Told Ron as we were walking out the door that night, I said, you know what? I got to find a way to get in here for free. I can't keep paying for this.
Yeah.
And we live 90 minutes away from Atchison. And so if we were going to volunteer, that meant a significant amount of our time, because it wasn't going to be just me. It was going to be both of us, because both Ron and I are interested in the paranormal. And what better house to study than the Sallie House? And so the following year, we started volunteering, and they gave us a script, and you still couldn't go in the basement. You still couldn't go in these rooms. We had a meeting with our with the director of tourism at the time and said, you know, if we could get people in the basement, I think you could get more people in here. More people would come. And I said, and if we could take down the signs and all the ropes, I said, it'll make people feel more inviting. And she goes, well, how do you propose we do the tours? I said, why don't I give an introduction when they come in? And then, you know, we have people throughout the house with equipment that they can, you know, we can show them how to use. I said, I'll bring my dowsing rods. In fact, I'll bring, you know, dowsing rods for a bunch of people if they want to use them. You know, we'll, you know, tell them take pictures as much as they want, you know, bring what they want. And we did that for 7 years. And we had great reviews, and people liked walking in and not having a movie on that's loud. They liked having the personal touch of having me greeting them. I mean, actually greeting them as they come in, giving them, you know, a 5-minute, 10-minute history of factual things, legends, and telling them up front, you don't have to take my word for it. Just because I have thousands of pages of research on this place, you can believe what you want, but I'm going to tell you the facts, and then you can leave here with whatever experience you have. My goal is for you to have the best experience that you can. And, you know, you being a tour guide, you know that that's all you want.
Yes.
And so that's what we did. And we increased, you know, revenue for the town by quite a bit. I mean, we had people that would show up. Some people showed up every other week to see if I found something new. Or, you know, and I'm still friends with a lot of these people. So we got the stairs fixed, because my first year there, I was always in the kitchen, because it was the biggest area where you could do dowsing rod sessions with people and entertain them and all that. And people would ask me, well, why can't we go down the stairs? I said, well, there's enough spirits in the house. We didn't need any more.
Yes.
So it was just really appropriate.
If you have a reasonable explanation why, because it's not safe, they'll go along with that.
Right. But the way I said it was more fitting for a haunted location. And so we, so like I said, we did what they wanted the first year, because the boss that we had wasn't the same boss that we ended. Well, we had 3 bosses the whole time. The first one wanted us to stick to the script. The second one loved the way that I proposed that we did everything. I ended up becoming her right-hand person through haunted season. So anytime they needed somebody, it was me that they called. And in the end, they wanted us to go back to the script and said, oh, you can't share any of your research with anyone. You cannot do that, because you have to have the town historian check it out to make sure it's right. And I said, he doesn't even care about the Sallie House.
Yeah.
Rest his soul. He did pass. I just found that out a couple weeks ago. But, he didn't care about the Sallie House. He cared about the history of Atchison without realizing that the Finney family was instrumental in the history of Atchison, because Dr. Charles Finney, the first Dr. Charles Finney, was at one time the mayor of Atchison. So keep that in mind when I tell you some other things. That was in 1912, 1913. He was mayor. And all the stuff that they said that happened at the Sallie House, the doctor who botched the appendectomy in the kitchen, this guy was a doctor for the railroad. So, he was very important in town. Not only that, they said he didn't have an office anywhere. They did everything from home. That's not true. He had an office at 5th and Commercial. So if you're going to say something, you better check out the directory first, because he always had an office at 5th and Commercial. In fact, he actually did advertisements in the newspaper saying where his office was and what days it was open, because he was, being a doctor for the railroad, he actually traveled on the railroad a lot. And he was also a member of the Anti-Horse Thief Association. Apparently that was a big problem in Kansas back in the day. But,
Okay, Denise, I'm afraid we've lost you for a minute. It's frozen up.
That he had an affair with the housekeeper. Well, there's no proof of that, because of the fact that he was married, and he didn't even live in the Sallie House when his child was born. And his child wasn't born until after he moved out into the house to the north. That's there's a red house to the north that was built by Kate Finney, his mother, because she said that it was more fitting for her son, who was going to be big in that town. So it was more fitting for a mayor or a doctor, somebody of his stature.
But not big enough for the historian. The historian didn't think he was big enough to talk about.
Well, no, he didn't think so. Even though, like I said, he was the first. He lived across the street from the first Democrat governor of the state of Kansas, Governor Glick. Directly across the street. So if you look out the bedroom, two of the bedrooms of the Glick mansion, you're looking over the Sallie House. One of the strangest things about Atchison is, for a town of 10,000, currently 10,000, back then probably 35,000 people, they had 29 millionaires. They had mansions everywhere. When you go on the tour of the town, like I said, you see the Gargoyle Mansion, and they're not gargoyles, they're griffins, but it's an amazing red brick building. You've got the Eva C. Cray home that looks like a Scottish castle. You've got the Munchnick, which was built by a lumber baron. So it was like Home Depot back in the day. If you wanted to see what a molding was going to look like or a parquet floor, this is where you went. You have the McIntyre Villa, which people are now just hearing about, but I've known about it forever, because it was on our haunted tour. Of course, the McIntyre Villa is on the wrong side of town, because, they still treated the Irish people as garbage back then. I don't know why. I'm Irish. And you have all, McPike. Okay, we talked about McPike Mansion. William McPike, Henry McPike's brother, lived in Atchison and started the McPike Drug Company there in Atchison.
Really?
Yeah. So if you go into Atchison and you just start driving up and down the streets, you're going to find a mansion here, a mansion there. And, you can get a lot for your money in Atchison. There's just no jobs there. There's no good way to get there. No good highways.
Really?
But at one point in time, it was a major stop going west, and the Finney family made their living being outfitters for those going west. They actually had, before they built the Sallie House, they had a store right on the river, right on the Missouri River, as people would come over. And MC Finney and his family would moving in storage. Guess what? That's what they did. They would take all your barrels and all your stuff and store it until you called for it, and then they would bring it out to you wherever you were. They would also sell you the horses and the wagons and the coffee and the sugar so that you could go west. And it was right below Amelia Earhart's grandparents' home at one time until all the flooding on the Missouri River finally took out everything along there. Some years Atchison got flooded twice, 2-3 times a year. It wasn't unusual until they made the river deeper. But you know all about that. Living out here, that we had, our history goes back to dredging rivers and making channels wider, deeper, so that we can control flooding. And Atchison's high on a bluff, or at least part of it is. Part of it's not. And if it hadn't been for the railroad, the Atchison-Topeka Railroad, I don't think anything would have been there, to be honest. But before all these people came here, there is a Native American burial ground to the south of Atchison and a Native American burial ground north of Atchison. The one north isn't too far from the Amelia Earhart Airport currently, and the other one is south down past the grain elevator between Atchison and Leavenworth.
Okay.
So, and if you want someplace that's really haunted, check out Leavenworth and their tunnels. They're underground. It's amazing. But Atchison has got, like I said, got a great history. But some of the things about the Sallie House, like I said, that weren't true, they still bother me to this day.
Do I remember when I think it was sightings, the family had moved to another state, and the cameraman who visited them claimed there was if I remember right, I get my stories mixed up because I've read so much, a noose was put around his neck in the attic of that new house, and they blamed Sallie for it?
Actually, they just live, 8 blocks?
Oh, okay.
So there is a lot of claims that Tony has been, Tony's family has been plagued with lots of things over the years. Don't know. They don't know if it was Sallie or just the fact that he was
sensitive.
Yes, he is very sensitive. There's some things I can't share on that.
Okay.
So, I never met the Pickmans until 2015. So needless to say, we had been doing tours for years, for 5 years, and never met them, but they had heard about me. they had heard that I was doing tours, and Tony kept telling Deb, this is what he told me, that when she's there, we don't have any issues in our house.
Wow.
And so, and he would tell people, if you want to know a factual history about the Sallie House, he said, talk to Denise Pridemore. And I took that as an excellent recommendation.
Yes.
And so we met them in their home in April 2015. So we filmed Ghost Adventures in September, 1st of October 2014. It aired January 18th, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I heard that Deb and Tony had been on there, I told my husband, I said, well, my part's been kicked out. What do they need me to do a tour for when Deb and Tony live there?
Yeah.
You know? And so when I hear my voice, the first thing when you hear that episode, I was amazed. I thought for sure they weren't going to have me on there. Mm-hmm. So it was an interesting experience, but the best part of the whole thing is the experience. And then after that, meeting Deb and Tony, Deb loves my homemade amaretto, and Tony likes my homemade apple butter, which I'm cooking now. I wish you could smell it. It smells like apple pie in here. And so, like I said, we became really good friends, and yet I haven't heard from them in probably 2 years. So,
when you were at the Sallie House, so you also had some adventures. You told me there was something, for lack of a better word, dark in there. That
there was. So one of the things that I would tell people is, I don't know what happened, why the house was haunted, period. I don't know why, but I did know that I believed Deb and Tony's stories that they put in their book. Okay. And that's only half of them. So that's in the book. There's more to come. Deb's been working on another book. Nobody wanted to buy a book that was probably this thick of stories on one place. But yeah, she's working on a Sallie House too. And I told people, I said, I believe them. I believe what they said happened. Why it started happening, I have no clue. Okay. I just know people came out of the woodwork after they went public. So are those people that came out of the woodwork lying? I don't know. But it just seemed very convenient that they never came out before.
Right.
But some of the experiences that I had was that, was that I got attacked in the house. The very first time was right after the episode. Well, in the kitchen, early on, I started getting bruising. I always wear, t-shirt, and I'd have a jacket because you never know what the temperature was going to be. And so one day I came out and I was like, damn, my arms hurt. I wonder why. And I take off my jacket, and my husband goes, what is that on your arm? And it looks like somebody had held my arm so tight that I had 4 fingerprints in my arm.
Is that the photo you sent?
I don't know. I don't remember which ones I sent now.
Do we have the photo of the marks on her, Race?
That's a scratch down the middle of my back.
Oh, okay.
That one happened. We had walked in the door. I was giving a tour. There was probably 50 people around, and all of a sudden I jumped and looked at my husband and said, hey, my back is burning. And he pulled my shirt down, and he goes, oh my God, you've got, at the time you could see that there was 3 marks. And he goes, and he said that 2 go down and 1 goes over. You can kind of see it looks like an H.
Yeah.
And that stayed there for about 12 and a half hours.
I noticed bruising around it as well.
Yeah. So, and I don't know, all I knew is that it hurt. It felt like somebody had just, went down my back And, and it's way up here, it's below my neck, but above my bra strap. So there's no way I'm not that double jointed. and I had been out in front of everybody for at least 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So what in the heck was going on? So that was one of the things that happened to me. One time I was cleaning up, getting ready. My husband had gotten food poisoning and he couldn't be there with me. And so I was cleaning up everything because I was getting ready to have, we called it a haunted hop. So I had done the tours all day and then we were doing a haunted hop, and the trolley was going to come by and they were going to get me. And one of the stops was, hey, you're going to be able to do an investigation at the Sallie House. So they brought him on the first part of the tour, brought him to me. And while I was down there in the basement cleaning stuff up, because I had noticed there was a bunch of trash, this fold-up chair came flying across the room at me. And it was all the way on the south wall. And it was thrown almost to the stairs. So it was a good 20 feet that this chair was thrown.
That's something very, very strong.
So when I got up, I ran up the stairs and sat down and going, I need to calm down before anybody gets here. Cause here I am, I'm alone, and I'm not scared of what did it. I was scared why it did it, because here I've been in the house at this point for 4 years. Why all of a sudden is it throwing chairs at me?
Mm-hmm.
So I was just kind of scared, worried. And so when they came in, I was very pale and still trying to catch my breath. And it made for a really interesting evening, just telling a story as to what just happened.
Right.
And so it was interesting. And the thing is that's happened twice when we were there. During the total eclipse back in 2017, I was pushed down the stairs by a spirit. This is for the, let's see, what was it? The total eclipse. We had a film crew in there, and they asked if I could, if I would stay with them. I was their liaison between the city of Atchison and the film crew.
Okay.
And they filmed a film there called The Deep Darkness that still hasn't seen the light of day. And while we were in there, it was quiet outside. All you could hear was crickets. I know you lived in the area around that time. We were in totality in Atchison. There was no places to stay, no places to eat because everything was packed. And it was rainy. Mm-hmm. Which was horrible for a total eclipse day. But, it got totally dark, and in the house, it was so loud you couldn't hear yourself think. I don't know if Joe Citrone and Richard Grund and the rest of the film crew heard it as loud as I did, but I heard screaming inside the house. My husband said he heard nothing but crickets outside.
Okay.
And so I was pushed down the stairs. We got some amazing still shots and some amazing, I only took still shots. They told me, the film crew said that they got some amazing film during that time. And one of the things that had happened was Joe Citrone got these excellent pictures of the house next door through the window. Mm-hmm. And he shows it to me, and I look at it and I go, that's Kate Finney. And he's like, how do you know? And I pull out a picture and I show him what Kate Finney looked like. And he's like, you're right, it is. But there's all these orbs in his picture. Okay. I'm not huge on orbs, but every one of these orbs, I could tell him whose face was in there and shared the pictures with him, and he could match them up. I don't know what it is that he does when he's taking pictures. Why does he get faces in his orbs? And I don't do pareidoia. Okay. Mm-hmm. Ron will tell you, Denise doesn't see anything in pictures usually. And so for when I spoke up, Ron was shocked. But you should see these. And for those of you who don't know Joe Citrone, he was on Paranormal Survivor, My Ghost Story, a bunch of other things. He's an author. He wrote a book called The Sallie House, Exposing the Beast Within. Very religious guy. But if you want to read a better book than The Sallie House, Exposing the Beast Within, find his book Seduced, because it talks about how he was seduced by the devil and how he got out of that life and into life with God. I mean, it is an amazing story. Whether you're into religion or not, it's the story of a survivor.
I'll have to get him on the show sometime if he's willing. Go
to his website, joecitrone.net, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Or just look him up, JoeCetrone. I suggest everybody check him out. He's one of my best friends, and I find his story and Richard Grunn's story amazing. So,
but you had a dealing with that dark spirit outside of the Sallie House as well, right?
Yes, right after Joe and Richard contacted me to be their liaison for the film The Deep Darkness, I had this entity show up at my house and make itself known to me at that point. Ron and I were in bed together, and you can see how my ceiling is, a nice little square. That's our bed, and this thing was over our bed. It was red and black, and you could see sinew in its wings, fingers, had rows of teeth, claws. It was terrifying. And the thing is Ron, not a thing, but me laying there, and I can see this thing. And I mean, I had probably 30 to 45 seconds. And I mean, I'm not exaggerating on time. Most people say stuff, oh, it was 2 or 3 minutes. No, it was about 45 seconds at the most. I wasn't paralyzed, but I couldn't move out of fear. Okay. And so I just started, saying, go away, in the name of Jesus Christ, go away. And eventually it did, but it was a message for me to not do what I was doing. But I told Ron after I saw this thing, I said, this is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So you have the picture of the night entity?
Would you put that up, please, Race?
Oh, nope. That's the picture of the Sallie House.
Yeah. Oh, so there's a drawing. There.
That one. That was drawn by local. I sent the article to a local author or a local sketch artist here. His name is Adam Tillery, part of Creeps, CREEPZ. You probably have seen Creeps guys around town. And he's also got a book. And this actually my story was actually printed up in a book by Haunted Road Media. So it talks about all the colors. And as you can see, it's got, 4 arms, 2 legs, wings, and rows of teeth. This thing just scared the living daylights out of me. I just wish we could have done it in color, and that way you guys could have seen it. But all those spots that are black on here were red, and all the places that have no color were black. So this thing was pretty much black and red.
Oh, that would be horrifying.
And yeah, once I showed it to my husband, he was terrified. He just didn't know what to think about that.
Was he ready to move?
No, because he knew that I would take care of it. So that was in February of 2017 that thing showed up. Something around the time that they came out to film, the Monday before they filmed, Ron walked. He loves telling the story. He got up out of bed, and there was a habit that he had. As soon as he got up, he would go into our daughter's room, feed the fish, because there was a 55-gallon fish tank in there. And all the cats, and we had 5 of them at the time, would follow him in there, praying that he would drop a shrimp pellet. Okay. cats are cats. I mean, they don't care. And so they would follow him in there, and then he'd go out in the kitchen and he'd feed the cats. So he went about his merry way, and the next thing I know, he's yelling, "Denise, get out here." We have approximately 40 cabinets and drawers out there. Mm-hmm. Every one of them was wide open. Not a cat to be found. Nothing. We didn't know what in the heck was going on. I walk out in the kitchen, and he said, "You need to take care of this." So I immediately got dressed and immediately started taking care of the problem. Mm-hmm. And the thing is I wasn't the only one that had this problem. The film crew, everybody in the film crew had something happen that same morning. And the funny thing is that we all sent this to Richard, who was the producer of the movie. We all sent him our stories without asking, without him saying, "Hey, all this stuff, did anything happen?" Right. We all just sent it. So that just made it kind of weird, and we knew that it was going to be an interesting week.
And why hasn't that video come out? Every
time Richard tries to get it to come out, right after that, they had a hurricane. He lives down near Orlando. Okay. So in September of 2017, they had a bunch of hurricanes down there. Then his knee went out. Then his wife had some health issues. One of our drone operator, he had some health issues. He was going to be the one of the camera operators for the post-mortem. Mm-hmm. We were going to do a post-mortem or a follow-up in the film about where everybody is now. And funny thing is nobody from Atchison wants to talk to him. I have nothing to lose. I don't live with him. I don't have to worry about appeasing anybody. And I'll tell you why I don't know why they won't, but I'll tell you why I don't have a problem. Because the night after, or the morning after the eclipse, we said our goodbyes. We went on our merry way, got caught in traffic, of course, because everybody's, on a mass exodus to get out of town now. And because of it getting, dark, then light, and it got, warm, cool, warm, we ended up having hail and rain, tornadoes, all that's, the normal kind of stuff that you have in Kansas. And we had flooding and stuff down here where I live, because we only got like 90% down here. Mm-hmm. But we still had flooding. And so I wake up, it's about 5:00 in the morning. So, it's dark at that point. That right there is west or east. Okay. No, that's west. That's east. And so the sun's coming up over here. So my side of the bed is still dark. And all of a sudden, I hear chattering in my house. Mm-hmm. And at this point, I have my daughter lives here. At that time, her and her soon-to-be husband, and they're downstairs. We don't hear anything from them, but I hear all this chattering. And I open my eyes and I look, and over there by the door, it's bright as day. There's about 50 spirits standing there. The main one I see is Agnes Finney. I see Charles Finney. I see the other Charles Finney. That's Dr. Finney's son. I see them, and she speaks up and she says, "Thank you, goodbye." And they all go. And I mean, if I hadn't seen it, I wouldn't believe it. Okay. Uh-huh. And it got dark and quiet again, and I've never seen them again. It used to be every time we went to the Sallie House or something was going on at the Sallie House, Agnes would come and tell me. Mm-hmm. She would say, Tim Wood's up here. He's doing, she would say, this guy, his name, of course, it was Tim Wood. I would always look to see who was there. He's provoking, or he's doing this, or he's doing that, or, hey, this person's got a Ouija board, or this person, broke the door, and all these things happened. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So I would call and tell somebody at the chamber, the door's broken, and they'd go, "How do you know?" I said, "You don't want to know," kind of stuff. And they would go look, and they were right. But Agnes would come and visit me, and every time we went to the Sallie House, she always welcomed me there. Mm-hmm. I mean, kind of like, she's a good hostess. She comes sit next to me on the sofa, whatever, weird kind of thing, and you always smelled her perfume. She always wore like a lavender perfume, mm-hmm. which was very common for back in the 1890s through the 1930s. Okay. In fact, for some people it's still common now. But so I feel like I was drawn to the Sallie House to bring Richard and Joe back there, mm-hmm. to close the portal and help the spirits to cross over.
Okay.
I feel like when she said that I had done my job, and my obsession with the Sallie House basically went away that day. I stopped. I haven't researched anything on it in years now. Mm-hmm. So since the middle of August 2017, I haven't dug up anything new on the Sallie House. I still have all my research. I've shared that research with Richard Estep and some other people out there. But other than that, there's so many lies about that house,
right,
that I think that people should, regardless of which house it is, regardless of which location, be skeptical of the legend that goes with it and try to find out the truth.
You sent us one other picture, though, that shows the house at least did have something in it.
Yes.
And that's, Race, would you put that up while she explains it?
So that picture was one of the very first times we went there. We had just locked up. I had walked through the house, made sure everybody was out. I see this in the picture. I go back in the house, make sure nobody's in there. There's nothing in that window. So I look at, so we go back and we look at it. And we didn't know what it was. About 2015, a neighbor shared a picture of Dr. Finney. And I put that picture next to this. And I asked people at the Sallie House, I just laid the two pictures on the table side by side and said, tell me who this looks like. And I didn't really, not side by side. They were in a book. So I asked them, what do you think? Who does this look? What's this look like? And they turn the page and they go, it looks like him. He had, a strong brow. And then if you look at that picture, you can see where the eyes are. It looks like it's got a strong brow. Mm-hmm. Dr. Charles Finney was somewhat effeminate. I don't know if that looks like that, but he kind of had a small head. And so that's just how I saw it. I felt like it was him. I didn't feel threatened by this picture at all, but I do love this picture.
That is one awesome capture, no doubt. Mm-hmm. Well, Denise, we've done it again. The time's almost up, but how do people get hold of you? I know you are speaking at a Haunted History Paraconference soon, right?
Yeah, I'm speaking at the Haunting History Paracon in Joplin, Missouri, October 7th and 8th, which will be after this or before this airs. Mm-hmm.
Actually, we're airing this one tonight. So
that's perfect then. So there you go. And so if you guys are interested in the Haunting History Paracon, go to hauntinghistoryparacon.com or go to Facebook and look up Haunting History. We've got some really good speakers that are going to be there. Katie Stafford from Ghosts of Morgan City and his wife Katie will be there, as well as Aaron Thompson from the new show 28 Days Haunted that hasn't come out yet. So I can't wait to hear about Aaron's experiences on there. Mm-hmm. I don't know if Nick Simons is coming with him and I know that Sean Austin's in that show and Brandy Marie is also in that show. So it's going to be great to hear about all that. We've got Carter Bouchard coming down, Bigfoot hunter, good friends with Margie Kay. Mm-hmm. So it'd be good to see him. We've got Jessica Potter, the mermaid medium. She's coming down. She's going to be doing a gallery reading. And shoot, I can't even tell you everybody can be there.
Got a lot of names there, though, big names.
Yep, and I'm just happy to say, hey, I know all these people personally. I think it's fun when it's it's all these people that you know. So I'm going to be speaking on how to tell if your medium is fake.
Well, I'd like to see that one myself.
So
Denise Pridemore, and you will be speaking at the Haunting History Paracon in Joplin, Missouri, October 7th and 8th. And sometime we're going to get you back for the McPike Mansion, because that's a place I've been to. So I want to talk about that.
And let me promote my show real quick. You got
Please.
Paranormal Pride every Monday night at 7 p.m. on the Paranormal Pride Facebook and YouTube pages, and also streamed on the Bill of Rights Network.
And I've been on it, so it's worth checking out, folks. Denise, take care and have a great Halloween. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Take care now. All right, folks. So now you know a little bit more about the Sallie House. Yes, it is haunted, but a lot of the things we saw on television just isn't quite accurate and isn't that normal for this sort of thing. Hey, I do want to let you know I'll be speaking in March 18th at the Haunted Blessenhasset, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Hotel in Parkersburg, West Virginia. There you go. Blennerhasset. That's it. Okay. So if you get the chance, got the vendors, just the list of vendors goes on forever. Check out their website if you can find it. And there's a lot of people coming in to speak. So if you get the chance, check it out. Look around your area. There's a lot of stuff going on. This is October. And if you haven't done it yet, again, should be your Halloween hotspot. Become an UNX subscriber. Just go to unxnetwork.com. It's free. Puts a little bit of information at the bottom. And you get a monthly UNX newsletter, which has all kinds of neat stuff in it. You get access to the X blog, and we're writing stuff in that all the time. And this is the neat part. We have a magazine called the UNX Magazine that comes out 4 times a year. Here's some of the covers. And if you are a subscriber, again, free, you get this magazine sent to you digitally, sent to you as an email for free. So what are you waiting for? This is anything you could ask. And again, you should be coming back here to the UNX Network. We have got UFO specialists, Bigfoot specialists, ghosts, EVP people, and they've all got their own show 24/7. Come on back, check us out. Check me out on the YouTube page for the UNX Network, and you can see these kind of shows. And other than that, all I'm going to do now is say you all have a great month. It's Halloween, finally. Hate to see it, though, because I always hate to see it go. And I want you all to stay spooked. Good night.